Do you think everyone would enjoy this book?
It comes from a more rural division. It comes from, real life experiences from individuals that I dealt with firsthand. He's arguably the greatest player ever to play the game of basketball. Definitely the best all-around basketball player, and he's earned that. Bronny's put in a significant amount of work, and that's why he's on that platform and able to play in the NBA uniform in the future. And who knows, Bryce, Bronny, and LeBron might all grace the court together. That's a trifecta right there.
When Pat Riley in offseason said about Jimmy, if you're not on the court playing Boston or New York, you should keep your mouth shut. What was your reaction to those comments?
The Godfather, Pat Riley, can't tell the story of basketball without ever mentioning him. He is the guy.
Could you give us your Mount Rushmore then?
Oh man, Shaq was amazing. Huge body, one of the most forceful, mobile, dominant big men I've ever seen. Caitlin Clark and what she's done for women basketball has just been amazing. I think timing is everything.
Yes, ladies and gentlemen, a warm welcome to Caron Butler, former NBA All-Star and assistant coach of the Miami Heat. Caron, great to see you. As if being a player and a coach wasn't enough, you got a new novel out as well, Clutch Time. How's it going? How's life?
Life is amazing. Thanks for having me on the show. Life is amazing. Basketball is obviously super competitive right now. We're in the midst of our journey in the season. But, just the whole process of the book and writing that as well. I'm getting a lot of favorable responses from a lot of fans, a lot of young people, a lot of older people. And it's triggering the thought process of making people think a lot differently. So I'm happy that happened.
Can you tell us about the background of writing for you? How did you marry these two things that you love? I mean, that's the dream, right?
Yeah, 100%. I did not know it was going to be the dream and the vision, but ultimately it became a therapeutic outcome for me. A couple years ago, obviously, before the loss of my brother Kobe Bryant, we went to a restaurant. We was talking about our second acts and what we wanted to do in our second acts. And one thing that we committed to each other was that our second acts was going to be far more powerful than our first acts. And obviously he was doing that, Oscar, Dear Basketball, and what he was doing in the basketball world and universe. But from the literacy standpoint, he was giving information to young people that will just have them inquisitive, inspired, and gave them a piece of low-hanging fruit and high-hanging fruit with no ceilings with his basketball stories, with the Wizard series and things like that. So that's what I wanted to do as well with Shot Clock, just with a little twist. It comes from a more rural division. It comes from, real life experiences from individuals that I dealt with firsthand through the Butler Elite basketball program. And Clutch Time, Shot Clock, obviously my journey from the streets to the NBA, Tough Juice. All those stories was just real truth with a little bit of, just dramatization with it.
Do you think everyone would enjoy this book, even if you're just a casual basketball fan?
100%, because it's a life book. I think the one thing about sports is it teaches you a lot about life. It teaches you how to be a star player, how to be a role player, how to fit in, how to wave the towel, the Gatorade towel if you have to. But I think the casual fan or just any individual that isn't a sport fan, you can relate to so many characters in these books. And that's why we try to give it from an authentic perspective. So listen, when I was growing up, I used to listen to my professors and my English teachers, American history teachers. They will always try to impose The Great Gatsby and The Outsiders and Gone with the Wind and stories like that, which is classic novels in American culture. But I think about the pivot of what I wanted to do, because I didn't gravitate to those stories because people in those stories I couldn't relate to. They was far-fetched individuals, white picket fence around the house. That wasn't my everyday norm. And I wanted to create stories where, where other huge percentage of America and the world could just gravitate to these stories. Everyone goes through adversity. This book is for you. Everybody dreams at some capacity. When did you stop dreaming? This book is for you. Have you ever went through a hardship or a loss or someone edited out of your life? This book is for you. Are you on the cups of becoming something? I don't know what it is, but are you on the cups of becoming something behind, like larger than your largest imagination? This book is for you. What is the obstacle standing in your way of your greatness? This book is for you. So this is my thought process of going in and writing these stories.
I feel like we were all blown away by The Last Dance. I never realized Michael Jordan was such a good storyteller. You know what I mean? Like the way that he sets things up. Who's the best storyteller in the game for you that you've encountered?
From a basketball standpoint?
Yeah.
100%, I would have to say it's a few guys out there. Gilbert Arenas does a great job of narrating his stories because he's animated, and he could put himself pretty much anywhere. Even if he wasn't there, he could actually put himself in like any story. So I love like listening to his podcast. Obviously, he's a long time friend and former teammate of mine. Kevin Garnett, just because of he has the superpower to. He was a great player. He was a Hall of Famer, but he's also animated enough, but also poised enough to tell some of the most prolific stories in basketball history. And then you got Dwayne Wade and Udonis Haslem, which is, they have a unique way of having a cadence to their story where they keep you on the cliffhanger all the way to the end. So they capture your imagination. They give you a rebuttal, and then they tell you like how the story ends. So those guys do a remarkable job. And then obviously Steven Jackson and Matt Barnes with All the Smoke, they're doing a great job as well.
How's everything going for you at the Heat? How do you deal with the pressure, and how do you find coaching as opposed to playing? How do you use all your knowledge?
Well, I think mentorship is key. I also think that this is I've done well enough in life not to like have need of a job. I'm blessed to have this job, but I you don't need the job. But then all of a sudden I've come to the realization that I actually do need the competition and the thrill and the challenge daily of this, because that's what I was missing when I was behind the desk. Being an analyst for 5 years, and it was still something that was missing in my belly. I had an appetite for, and that's where this comes in. The Miami Heat culture, the Miami Heat organization granted me this opportunity and this platform to give wisdom, give insight from my perspective, from my vantage point, and it's truly been exceptionally great. We went to a couple Eastern Conference finals. We went to the finals, fell a little short, lost to the Denver Nuggets. And again, we're on that journey again. So it's a balancing act, but it's also just never letting go of the rope. You got to have that mentality, and you got to have a belief system and a trust factor, and communication has to be 10x. And that's what we're working on, and we're a work in progress.
Your experience must be pivotal in that locker room. In basketball, you're always going to get speculation about big players. Jimmy Butler is no different. A lot of talk about him leaving. How do you deal with that noise?
You quiet the noise, you stay calm. You define reality. What is reality? The reality is we have one of the greatest players ever to play the game of basketball on our team right now, Jimmy Butler. We have a great young nucleus. We have Tyler Hero that's playing lights out. We have the top 3 two-way center in all of basketball in Bam Adebayo. We have rising stars in Jaime Jaquez and, the youth movement of Khalil Ware and Pele Larson and all these guys. So that's what we focus on. That's the reality. We know what it could be, but we also know what is, and we have these young talents that we have to help just grow into their own.
When Pat Riley in off-season said about Jimmy, if you're not on the court playing Boston or New York, you should keep your mouth shut. What was your reaction to those comments? What's the vibe like between those guys?
I didn't have a reaction. I saw the comment like everyone else did, and I was like, let's get to the season. That was my mentality. Control what you can control. The thing that I can control is preparation of our guys, making sure our guys are in the right headspace, leadership standpoint. And Jimmy came back, great shape like he always is, ready to lead. Unfortunately, had a tweak of the injury in Denver, and hopefully he'll be back real soon because we're looking forward to having him.
How's the synergy with Eric Spoelstra and Pat Riley? And how do you implement your philosophy with those guys?
Hey, I say, obviously, the Godfather, Pat Riley, can't tell the story of basketball without ever mentioning him. He is the guy, and he's still coaching all of us till this day. And young Vito, Eric Spoelstra, he's the descendant of Pat Riley. He's the one that carries the torch, and we try to be the front line of defense for those guys. And we're a sponge. We learn from those guys. I tell everyone always, I'm in basketball school. As much basketball and knowledge that I have, those guys have forgotten more basketball than I ever can learn at this point. So I'm trying to learn from them daily, early. I'm headed to a coaches meeting after this interview that we're doing. We're going to sit down in the war room, come up with some solutions for this competition to try to get a quality win on the road versus Indiana.
Yeah, I wanted to ask you, there was a recent incident between Joel Embiid and media personnel, so players like Paul George and Draymond Green have brought into question privacy in the locker room. Have you ever experienced situations where the media kind of go too far, or you've had your privacy encroached upon? How do you feel about that atmosphere?
I didn't read the logistics of the story. I did see like it was a situation, and what I would say is just like, was that after a loss of a basketball game? Do you know?
Yeah, I believe so.
Okay, so here's my thing about that. I'm glad you answered that question. It's like after basketball games, especially after a loss, I think the energy is heightened. And I just think that it has to be a time period where people can decompress and, then the media can have access to the locker room. And just in this situation, I believe that Joel Embiid was probably out for some time. He was hobbled and he was trying to come back, being a player that was trying to will it. I don't want to say injured. Well, I would say injured, not hurt, because some people can play injured. You definitely can't play hurt. If you hurt, you out. And I think he was trying to will it and be there for his teammate and teammates. And I think Paul George, his debut was huge, and he wanted to be there for him so they can get a snippet of what it may look like going forward. And unfortunately, it didn't happen that way. And probably, a lot of emotions was, being tossed around in the locker room. And then all of a sudden you give access to this influx of media at one time. Now, shouldn't nothing had happened or any altercation, anything like that with the media, but at the same time, I want everyone to not dehumanize themselves and just wonder what would you feel like in the height of, all your endorphins flowing and you feeling a certain way about a significant loss that, you just put a lot of time, effort, sweat equity in, and then all of a sudden it's a camera in your face or it's a microphone in your face. Don't dehumanize people. Like, people have emotions, people have to decompress. Not saying that it's right, but that's my vantage point of what I see could have happened as a former player. And now on the other side of the fence, being a coach, I try to protect our players. Sometimes it's like, hey, if it was a heightened day and with significant loss, it's like, hey, let's keep the door shut for an extra 10 minutes. Give guys a minute just to really get their thoughts together and collect their thoughts.
You used that word mentorship earlier in the interview. Right now, of course, there's so much interest between a legend like LeBron James playing with his son. Such a unique situation. It's like something out of a movie. But for a young player, what advice would you give trying to deal with that spotlight and that pressure of playing with your dad?
Oh, man, I think it's beautiful. I had a lengthy conversation last night with someone about that situation specifically, and I just think it's beautiful to watch. A lot of people question the idea of, LeBron being out there with his kid and, what is that and what that looked like. But, he's earned, he's arguably the greatest player ever to play the game of basketball. Definitely the best all-around basketball player to ever play the game of basketball. And he's earned that. And, with those things, you afford opportunities and create opportunities. Now the work still has to be put in, and Bronny's put in a significant amount of work, and that's why he's on that platform and able to play in an NBA uniform. So seeing that vision and that dream is something that they manifested as a family coming to fruition. I think it's beautiful to watch, and he looks extremely happy to be present there with his dad. And as the saga continues, this is only act 2. Don't be surprised if you see Bryce in the same situation playing with his dad. LeBron looks like he's not slowing down. 3 triple doubles. Oldest player outside of Jason Kidd that averaged a triple double, three straight, and he might have leverage to make something else happen in the future. And who knows, Bryce, Bronny, and LeBron might all grace the court together. Now that's a trifecta right there.
That'd be crazy, man. What about your team leadership? What role is Bam taking, and how's Tyler Herro's development been for you? What leaders do you see stepping up?
Yeah, I think they do it by committee. Obviously, we have a constant voice, or had a constant voice in Udonis Haslem for years, and once he retired, he physically and mentally handed over the reins to Bam, and Bam is our captain. He's our guy that we follow. He has a wealth of experience, a 2-time Olympic champion, gold medalist. He's been in the fire. He's been in a lot of battles. And then we have Kevin Love as well, who's also a seasoned vet, NBA champion. He's been around. He's seen a lot. He's also a consistent voice, and he also has a great balance of leadership because, he's done it from all different perspectives, and then he's also a huge advocate of, mental health awareness and advocating for that. So we're proud to have those guys at the helm of the leadership side. And then Jimmy does it in a different way, not as vocal, but he does it from an example standpoint, the way that he plays, kind of like how Tim Duncan was. You didn't see him say much, but, he just did his thing always, and he gave you a visual to follow. And from a, developmental standpoint, Tyler Herro's just playing lights out right now. I think, 80, 50, 40 that he's doing, like from a percentage standpoint, field goal standpoint, 3-point shooting. He's just playing off the charts. And if you take the images off the screen and put, side by side just the statistics, him and Steph Curry are identical. And actually, Tyler has a little edge, from statistics this season. So he's playing lights out. And then you got Jaime Jaquez. He's on the verge of doing something extremely well. Haywood Highsmith is one of the best lockdown defenders on ball in the entire association. We knew that. And he's doing a great job as well. But as collectives, these guys are just growing as as a committee and as a collective, as a unit. They're doing a great job.
Can I ask you about the unveiling of Dwayne Wade's statue, your former teammate?
I was waiting on that. Some
people critique the likeness a little bit. What were the emotions of the day like for you?
So here's the thing. Like, when I was there for the whole time, the whole moment, and when they unveiled it, I was really like excited to see it, and I thought it was amazing. And the reason I thought it was amazing was obviously Dwayne Wade was my rookie. He was a brother that we've known each other for over 20 years. So just to have that significant moment in his life and be present, that was special. As far as the visual, this is something that he crafted and wanted exactly the way that it was sculptured. So I didn't understand all the backlash and the hoop. Like, this is something that he wanted. A statue is art. And this is what he wanted it to look like. He was part of the entire process. And I think that as fans, you got to be like, if somebody want to be immortalized in a specific way, and this is the visual that they seen themselves in, like, you applaud it. And, obviously for clickbaits and, whatever, whether it look identical like him or whatever the case may be, the statue is timeless. And he did his job, as he always did. He became the center of attention. People still talking about it, and he did it in a way that only Dwayne Wade can do it. And then he answered all the questions gracefully, and he moved on. And now that statue is probably one of the most sought after statues to see if you come to Miami. It's become a tourist attraction now.
The man is an icon. Who is the better teammate, D Wade or Dirk Nowitzki?
They both was great teammates. That's the thing that I think only in the NBA, because we have like, I hate to say it, but we have a lot of people that look like myself play the game of basketball at a high level. It always leads to separation. People do comparisons all the time. In football, you'd be like, hey, who's the GOAT? They just be like, Tom Brady. They don't be like, Tom Brady, Peyton Manning. They don't put like the guys against each other all the time. And I want to stop doing that narrative in the NBA. They both was great teammates. They love the game. They both champions. They both individuals that you cannot tell the story of basketball without mentioning. But that's a great question. But they're both great teammates.
Could you give us your Mount Rushmore then for NBA talents in your opinion?
My Mount Rushmore would have to be Kareem, Michael Jordan, Kobe Bryant, and LeBron James.
Bang! There it is.
That's easy for me.
Yeah, incredible. Shaq's now, he was such a dominant player, but also a huge personality, great businessman as well. What was it like playing with and against him back in the day?
Oh man, Shaq was amazing. Huge body, one of the most forceful, mobile, dominant big man I've ever seen. To be able to just get up that court at that size, it was just crazy. We used to have to send 3-4 guys at him at a time, and he still averaged 30 points, 40 points. Like he was just so relentless. And he had a high basketball IQ as well. People don't give him enough credit of, how smart he was on the basketball court. He manipulated the game, and that's the reason why he has 4 championships now. Like so, and then what he's done, as you alluded to, from away from the game of basketball. This is an exceptional businessman and someone that a lot of people can follow.
Allen Iverson was one of the most underrated players at the time. Have you got any memories that stick out about him? And for some people, he was the man.
Yeah, I think from cultural icon, kind of what you said about Dwayne Wade. I think Allen Iverson, he was personally one of my favorite players ever, just because of my upbringing and what I come from. The whole incident before he went to Georgetown, being incarcerated. I went through the whole process as well, spending 18 months in jail, and he was like the guy I was looking at, that if you can go through stuff, you can make it through anything. Like, and he inspired me that, oh man, I can go to college. Allen Iverson did it, and I can look this way. I can have braids in my hair. I can have tattoos. I can not be the norm of what corporate America want me to be. From dress coding and code switching and things like that, I can just be exactly who I am. And, I think Allen Iverson opened up that door for everyone just to be exactly, authentically who they are. And I'm forever grateful for him to be that talented and just to, be comfortable in his skin and be that first one to do it the way that he did it. I'm a huge fan of Allen Iverson. That's my brother for life.
What was that like, being in jail? You had a lot of time to dream in there. Did some of the things that you dreamt up when you were there end up happening?
Yeah, a lot of the things. People always say, when you're down like that, you have a lot of time to dream, but you also have a lot of times to create nightmares. So it's all about how your mind operates and what you manifest. And I was thinking about solutions. I wasn't thinking about going to jail to being a better criminal. I rehabilitated myself. It wasn't no programming in there. I picked up the Quran. I got heavy into that dialogue. And I just got into my daily bread and my daily confirmations. And I set goals daily for myself of, what I wanted to do, what I wanted to accomplish, who I hurt, what I made the matriarch and patriarch of our family feel like, my mother and my grandmother. And the strong women in my family. And when I pivoted out of there, it was just some non-negotiables that I had. that I wasn't going to fall back into the pitfalls of that life again. And I just moved forward. And by the grace of God, like, things happened for me. Opportunities started to happen. Windows turned to doors, doors turned to, garage doors. Like, the opportunities got bigger and the decision making got a little tougher. But without that switch up and without that rehabilitation, I would not have been in the right state of mind to, have those options.
We're an inspiration, man, to a lot of players, a lot of young people, a lot of fans. So your story is incredible. I'd like to wrap up with a couple of WNBA questions because we're big on our coverage of women's basketball. So I don't know if you have any thoughts on Unrivaled coming to Miami. Do you think Caitlin Clark not playing will have an adverse effect? Are you excited about it?
Yeah, I am. Obviously, Caitlin Clark and what she's done for, women basketball has just been amazing. I think timing is everything. We've seen people similar to her stature come along and just dominate. The Maya Moores, the Diana Taurasi's, the list goes on. Cheryl Swoops before her time. But I think the world was just ready for something more, and to see someone that size at that position move around gracefully, shoot from that distance. She's really been identified by the masses, and then she has just really electrified and changed the game, and it's time. So I'm really happy for the WNBA and also for my daughter, just because I have an avid basketball player. Just last night, she was sending me plays and ATOs of where her shots is coming from. She's only in the 7th grade. She's playing JV basketball for her high school. So she's a true hooper. She loves the game, and she's inspired by Juju and Caitlin and all those individuals.
That's cool. That's cool. As a dad, you must be like, wow, that's amazing.
Yeah.
You already said you don't like the way that sometimes players are pitted against each other, but maybe it's the media. But Angel Reese and Caitlin Clark, where do you see that going in terms of where they can go and the rivalry maybe there?
Yeah, I think it's amazing. It's kind of like with the NBA. You have to have a villain. You have to have a hero that everyone wants to rally around. Just like the presidential election we just experienced. You had two candidates. One was eventually a villain, and the other one was, someone that was the savior that everyone rallied around. And that's the same thing with, basketball. If you can create that somewhat of a division, whether it's, racially, whether it's economically, whether it's whatever, you can get the draw in, and then now you can control the narrative as much as possible. When you look at Angel Reese and you look at Caitlin Clark, those individuals just love competing. They love to play the game of basketball at a high level, and I think they have a profound respect for one another, just like Larry Bird and Magic Johnson did. But it is a new stage of the WNBA, so now you get to market it however you want. You can market it through socialites where people can get on Twitter and clickbait, and you can make it a racial thing. You can market it through corporate America in a different way, and then you can make it whatever you want. But it's checking all the boxes, that rivalry. You can just check every box that you have to check in order to make it something that everybody has to be tuned into, and that's why basketball for the WNBA are just doing amazing ratings.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say, man. It's certainly getting those eyeballs, which in the end, it's a good thing for the sport. And it's going like that, so it's 100%. A good thing.
Trajectory is crazy.
Maximum respect, Caron Butler, doing everything right, multifaceted, absolutely inspiring, man. All the best. Keep doing what you're doing, and thanks for the time.
Thanks for having me on.